Hey, good morning. Coming to you from a little bit different spot, but I wanted to go ahead and put down my thoughts, get them out there. I saw there wasn't a lot of work done on the Forest Fenn box, or at least a lot of work wasn't being publicly announced. I'm sure there's many of you who are working behind the scenes. But for those of us who are in it more for the mental chase, the camaraderie, the teamwork, the community, and just the thrill of being able to be a part of something, even though we may not be able to be there at the finish line, this is for y'all, for us, for me. So what I did was I'm traveling. I don't have my book with me, but I did write down the Forest Fenn poem, and I've got all the pages of the book scanned so that I can look at it when I'm remote or when I'm moving around. I didn't want to risk damaging the book. And so I did kind of a fresh take. I've already done a video on a first look at the Forest Fenn chapter. So this is kind of a second, more in depth. And what I wanted to do is, I hadn't heard a consensus on the state. So I wanted to see if we can narrow down a consensus of the state. And now that I feel at least we have a little bit of a better idea of how JCB's mind works, at least with the puzzles, I think we could have some more insights. So a few things I want to address right off the top is, I think by the end of this video, there should be a state or maybe two, but hopefully at least one that at least I agree on. I'll put it out there, tear it apart, tell me what you think, yay or nay. Secondly, I wanted to address, there's been a lot more of a push to dig deeper into the person of JCB. And while I understand some of the complexities, I'll say, behind that, I do want to say that JCB himself admits that when he was working on the Forest Fenn box, he dug into Forest Fenn. And so this is direct quotes from the Fenn box chapter. He talks about how when he spent his year-long full-time treasure hunting, he wanted to know how Fenn's mind worked, how he processed information, and what did his love of wordplay mean. So those are three direct quotes from the chapter. That's JCB digging into, when he was treasure hunting, digging into Forest Fenn. So I do think it's fair. I think he invites it himself. When he talks about, in the poem, he mentions a road that I loved, and several things he talks about, things that are special to him. So I think to a point, I'm not advocating doxing anyone. I'm not advocating, emailing parents or, stalking first grade teachers or anything like that. But I do think there's a point, and I think it's a fair point, and I think that he would agree, in order to understand a treasure hunt, you have to understand the creator to an extent. So that's just my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents out there. Do with it what you will. Okay, so the first thing I did was I read the chapter again, front to back. I read the poem again. Then I started a third. This is, I guess, my third reread of it, with a few things in mind. One of them saying that, let's see, he mentions everything you need to know is in the poem. All right. So that's the key to focus on the poem, but he does mention other things in the text before, and he included them in there. So just from the text before the poem, I have a few notes. When he talks about his other occupations he would have been: race car driver, mountain climber, monk, paleontologist. I think it's important whenever someone lists things out in that format, so I just wrote those down to keep in the back of my head. Next, a ship needs a crew. He has a captain's license. That's an interesting thing. Very cool. We'll see how it relates. 24-line poem leads straight to a treasure box. I already covered how when he was doing the Forest Fenn hunt, he talked about how he wanted to get into know of how Forest Fenn's mind worked. He even touched on Forest Fenn's controversial background a little bit, bringing up the the whole Arizona Santa Fe thing. Okay, going on, talked about one year full-time treasure hunting, which, yikes, that's impressive. That's dedication. That shows a little bit of a treasure obsession, which is good, I think, for our concerns. His beloved, beloved, I don't know how that's pronounced. I think that could be a good theme throughout the book, and throughout this chapter in general. When he talks about a road I loved, that's interesting. Does it have a connection with I cruise along a road I know, or something like that? I don't know. That's just something. Next thing, 25 inches. I don't know. I just wrote that down. Seemed to just change the necklace measurement. Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe. We've heard a lot of controversy about the Santa Fe. And then he goes into, as you may be curious, I have traveled to all 4 states. So, I mean, again, he's assuming that the reader is asking, why would the reader ask? Because the reader is looking for a place to hunt. And he specifically says, I've traveled to all 4 states, which I think is interesting. Okay, so now we get into the actual poem here. And this is where I get a little excited because a lot of the work that I've done and posted has been pure collaboration. Very little that is original to me. I'm just trying to, tie some strings together. But I haven't heard anyone mention this, so maybe this might be something unique that I can claim. Unless it all falls apart, which it might. Okay, so I wanted to look at the first 3, maybe 4 stanzas, because I believe that the poem, similar to how the word search appears to be going, and the map, is gradually going to lead us to a spot. It's not, I think everything points to, none of the first 2 stanzas are going to have like a direct location. I think it's narrowing down. That's my logic. That's the way I'm following it. So I'm looking at 4 states, right? New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming. In the beginning, I was a little bit shaky on who says it has to be 4, but now I'm 100% it's one of the 4. I think it's very clear it's one of the 4. And if you're looking outside one of the 4, for the Forrest Fenn box, I've heard a lot of Colorado. I've heard a lot of California. I don't know. I don't think there's anything that points to that. Okay, so now that we have 4, let's narrow it down. I've been big on Montana early on, and Wyoming purely because the amount of public land in Wyoming, and it's like 90-something% of Yellowstone is Wyoming. Let's look at the mottos. Montana, let's look at like the state slogans or whatever. Montana, the treasure state. That's too obvious, so that can't be it. Wyoming, cowboy state. Wyoming's motto is equal rights. Montana's motto is oro y plata, gold and silver. Just might be something, but that's a little too obvious. I'm not saying that's a big hint. Okay, so the poem starts out, right? I cruise along a road that I know. Interstates 15 and 90 go through Montana, right? 90 this way, 15 this way. 90 goes all the way to Seattle, Washington. And like he recommended, getting to know the man, there's an address associated with JCB in Kent, Washington, okay? 90 goes right into Seattle. I mean, it's not right there next to Kent, but it could be something, all right? Brown. A lot of people have been talking about Brown. So there's a Browning, Montana. All right. Interestingly enough, Browning, Montana was disincorporated as a town because it went bankrupt, bad management of finances. Disincorporated in 2018. So there's a place that used to be Brown. Cool water flows. This one, I didn't make any progress the first 2 times I read. And then when I was looking at maps of Montana, I saw a glacier, Glacier County, Glacier National Park. Cool water flows down from a glacier. This is why I don't really key into the more southern states of New Mexico. I mean, yeah, you can get cool water running down from the Rockies, rivers going through. I know there's rivers in New Mexico that are cold. But I don't know, that one, that phrase alone would make me key in on the 3 more northern states, which would be Colorado, Montana, Wyoming. All right, so from here, you're on your own. That's an interesting line because he mentions hiking with his beloved, and throughout the book, he mentions, it's good spending time with your family. He's very family oriented. He feels like he wants us to be out there hiking with others. So that one stuck out to me. I looked up Solo, Montana, Solo, Wyoming, Alone, Montana, Alone, Wyoming. Interesting enough, brought up a lot of the TV show Alone, which is a good TV show. I watched it. Solo, Montana is a wilderness school in Whitefish, but it's not really too close to the areas that I'm looking at. Okay, so compass, we'll get into the compass. Compass points always north. There is a North Point Casino in Eureka, Montana, which Eureka, Browning, Glacier National Park, it's all kind of in the same area, ties in with John F. Stevens Canyon, all right? And through John F. Stevens Canyon is class, 2 or 3 rapids, rolling highs and lows. roiling water. I don't know. A lot of these all seem to point toward Montana for me, and I know I'm fully aware I'm deep in the confirmation bias because I'm living off the high. It's fresh right now. Glacier, Browning, canyons, rapids, Montana, highs and lows. It's all tying together. But again, this is only the first 3 or 4 stanzas. This isn't. I don't have a location. I don't have a city. I'm just narrowing down a state. I think once the hive mind can get behind a state, then you'll have all that brain power digging into the rest of the stanzas, and from there you can get quiet and do your own thing and narrow in a location. But I'm really excited. The last thing I wanted to touch on was point and tree and C and I. And I don't have it pulled up with me. It's on my other phone. But when I was looking into, I think the video I did, my last video or 2 videos ago, talking about JCB and his wife liking 5 different kinds of puzzles, riddles, mysteries, escape rooms, board games. When I looked into riddles and I looked into how you can hide riddles in text or in poems, talks a lot about symbolism, talks about wordplay, which we know Forrest Fenn loved, talks about having words mean other things. And so the phrase point and tree and seeing I think everyone kind of agrees that it's something. I've seen a lot of different opinions. Could be like a state flags with trees on them, state flags with C's or I's on them. Colorado comes to mind, which could be. I'm trying to think of other words, or seeing eye or see eye, or that kind of like the actual words, letters, sorry, CI, confidential informant. I don't know what other things CI stands for, classified. But that's the way I'm trying to think with point and tree and C and I. Even point and tree, I'm trying to think of that phrase. I don't know, PT, past, I don't know. I didn't really get too far with that one. But I'm excited. Let me know what you think about Montana. See if you can find any other connections. See if we can narrow it down. And even if you're not, let me know what other states you think are in play or not. I'll probably stick on this for another day or 2, see if anything comes to mind. But this was the most progress I've made on this poem. The wordplay is very tough for me to conceptualize. I can do pictures. I can do letters and patterns. I see a little bit better, anagrams and all that. It's fun. This is not fun for me. This is probably the worst box for me. But I don't know. I'm excited. Let me know what you think. Bye.